Welcome to a very interesting interview with Julia Wollner and Dr. Michael Laitman about Kabbalah. Let's start. Dr. Laitman, welcome.
Yes.
Thank you very much for finding the time to talk to me. I'm very honored and it's a great pleasure for me. I have been faced with not a very simple task to present what Kabbalah is to the Polish people, which in most cases, this is what my research shows, have no idea what Kabbalah is. They have some misconceptions, some ideas that they took from various sources. When I told one of my friends that I will be writing an article about Kabbalah, she asked me if it means that I started writing about gossip and celebrities. This was her only association. Another person that I threw the remark to told me that it probably means that I started writing about magic. And it's a very difficult task to explain that there's so much more to Kabbalah. I think certain things for me are a little bit easier because even though I am Polish, I am married to an Israeli. So I know something about Judaism thanks to my family and to his family. Well, most people in my country probably don't. They have some very basic idea of what Judaism also is. So not only we have to explain what Kabbalah is, but also go back a little bit and tell them about the roots. So I wanted to ask for your help and ask you to help me with your experience of teaching Kabbalah to all sort of people, because I imagine you encounter all kind of pupils, all kind of people, to make this very basic introduction to Kabbalah to people, like I said, who have absolutely no idea what it is.
I wanted firstly to ask, who are we writing for? Who's your audience? Who are the people reading?
This is a very, very interesting question, a very important one. So thank you for putting it. I should have started with it, and I think out of the emotion and the excitement, I didn't mention it. So the readers are the readers of a magazine that I'm writing for. It's a magazine about psychology and about spirituality. A magazine that is trying to show people how to look for spirituality in today's world. It's a magazine that writes quite a lot about different religions.
Okay, I understood. Yeah.
About psychology. It is mostly connected with another magazine, a very big Polish magazine that is dedicated only to psychology. So here we have a little bit of psychology, but also, of course, it's connected with looking for spirituality in your life.
Okay, now I understand. And so I'll start anew. The Wisdom of Kabbalah says that after the still vegetative and animate levels of nature, the person develops on this planet, and approximately 6,000 years ago, these people started feeling that what develops within them is their ego, the desire to receive, to enjoy, to exploit others, and they started feeling that. They especially started feeling that around 3,800 years ago in ancient Babylon. We read many stories about Babylon, where they wanted to build a tower up to the heavens. And then there was revealed their priest, whose name was Abraham, and he discovered that their whole ego that grew in them, and where they started being bad to each other, that it was actually a natural phenomenon. In order for them to rise above that ego, meaning there is a process that humanity goes through, and on one hand, our ego is constantly growing, the desire to enjoy, the desire to use and exploit others is constantly growing. However, if we want to live well, we need to know how to complement that ego, how together with the ego we can put something with it in the correct way, and to close these good relations between us. Abraham wrote about that in the book Sefer Yetzirah, the book of creation. That book is still with us from 3,500 years ago. And he told the Babylonians that you need to unite, you need to connect. Otherwise, what does it mean to build a tower up until the heavens? It's the ego that wants to be as great as the heavens. And they started arguing with each other, having conflicts. And then what took place is that many people did hear what Abraham had to say, that indeed their ego is causing conflicts and problems, and they do need to get along. That earlier they lived well, there was a good and pleasant society, they lived as a single nation, as people who were close to each other, and suddenly when the ego exploded, they started hating each other. That is considered as, in Babylon, there is this confusion of the languages. It's not a confusion of actual languages, it's this ego where even if we're speaking in the same language, people don't understand each other. And in that way, people didn't know how to connect together above that ego that divides them. And Abraham explained to them how to do that. He put together a big group, and many people write about that, even from the time and afterwards. Historians, Ramban, and from the 11th and 13th century, they also write about what he did. It's also written about that in the Torah, where he took those people who were together with him in that same opinion, where we need to connect, unite above that hatred, above our repulsion. And he said, love covers all crimes, meaning we have this repulsion, and despite that we need to connect to each other. And he developed a method of how to do that. And many people from Babylon went to him and he started teaching them. He called those people the Jews, from the word unity or connection. And also, he took those people from Babylon and went together with them to the land of Canaan, where today is the land of Israel. And those people, throughout time, even though they came from many different tribes and territories and from many different families and clans, those people turned into a nation because they constantly lived together, they got married and connected, and throughout the years they became a nation, a big family that is called a nation, and they called themselves Israel. Why? Because Israel is two words, Yashar Kel, direct, Yashar, to the upper force, to the God, which is Kel. Why to the upper force, the Creator? Because the upper force is the force of bestowal and love. And that's what they call themselves, that they are directed in their connection to reach bestowal and love among each other. And according to Abraham's method, what took place was that if people connect properly among themselves, then they start feeling among themselves in those connections a special force, bestowal, love, connection, warmth, and they start feeling that in general the whole world exists in that force, that it's truly an upper force, that it's really godly, that's how the whole of reality is constructed, and we humans are these corrupted egoists. We're the only corrupted part in that system. And we lived in that place, Israel, and afterwards we descended to Egypt. And what took place in Egypt is that they became corrupted. Just like in Babylon, they had that addition of evil, of ego. So also in Egypt too, they got that addition of ego. And that is considered as them being Pharaoh's workers. And afterwards they exited Egypt, and Abraham was already dead by that point, but in his place Moses became the leader, and he upgraded the method of Abraham's because their ego was bigger at that point. And that is considered as them receiving the Torah. What does that mean? It means that they learned from Moses how to attract the force of bestowal and love through their connection, meaning as much as they connect more and more to each other, in that connection among each other, they can discover that force of bestowal and love more and more, and as such progress. They progressed through the 40 years in the desert, through the land of Israel, and they lived in the land of Israel in that connection of love and mutual bestowal, mutual connection. They lived in that all the time until that ego growed more and more, because it grows from one generation to the next, until that form where they could not hold on anymore, that connection between them. And then they fell from that level of love and mutual bestowal, mutual connection, to hatred. That is called the destruction of the temple. And that's what took place to them 2,000 years ago. Since then, that feeling, they lost that feeling of connection and they love that they had. They lost that connection with that upper force, the creator, which is called the general force of love and bestowal. And that people, that nation, fell into what is called exile. And since then, that's where we exist. 2,000 years went by. In the beginning of the 20th century, the exile came to its expiry stage, and the people of Israel started returning to that land of Israel. That's how it was also written earlier, that would take place. In the Wisdom of Kabbalah, all this has been written in the beginning. And here in the land of Israel, two great Kabbalists were revealed. One is called Baal HaSulam. That was around 1920s, where he started writing the whole modern version of Kabbalah, which explains the same thing that Moses and Abraham taught, but it's written especially to suit our generation. And after Baal HaSulam, his son, who is called Rabash, he continued the path of his father, and he also wrote a few books. I was the personal assistant of Rabash, and when he passed away in 1991, I continued his path, and I followed by continuing to teach people that method until today. The method is as such. It says that we exist in a special period, in a new era, where the whole of humanity is undergoing a very great crisis, just like that crisis in Babylon 3,500 years ago, where we were all feeling how much our ego is growing in each and every person, and we started feeling the extent of how corrupted we are and how we couldn't get on with each other. Neither a person with his own family or with his own children, neither people within society and neither people among different societies. And we, due to that growing ego, the overblowing ego, we are destroying the world so much that we act badly even upon all of the ecology, upon the planet, the environment, and we are in a very dangerous situation, because if we continue in this way to relate badly to each other, then we'll bring ourselves not only to a World War III, an atomic world war, but we will simply destroy everything. That's what the Wisdom of Kabbalah discusses, and it also says that in the 3,000 years it's been revealed to humanity, it has never erred in any place. And we, who study the Wisdom of Kabbalah, we have a problem. We want to explain to everyone what the Wisdom of Kabbalah speaks about wherever possible, in order to be saved from such problems and to save our situation. Everything that took place in Europe the last few years and in any other place, the Wisdom of Kabbalah speaks about that and explains everything. And that's exactly what's happening till today. Our organization is worldwide because the Wisdom of Kabbalah is open to everyone, just like Abraham, Adam Arishon, and people in Babylon. Babylon didn't just include people who lived there, but include people from all the nations, all the places, and they came there. So we explain it to everyone. We have groups, students, pretty much in every country in the world. And we very much hope that the time will come where people will hear how it's possible to change their lives and to make our life better. That is really, in the meantime, everything.
I read in numerous sources, and also now in your speech, I heard the word reception. I am trying to understand correctly what this word in connection with Kabbalah really means. You can read, like I said, in many sources that the very word Kabbalah means reception. I confirmed it yesterday with my husband, who explained to me that also in modern Hebrew, when you say you're going to a hospital and you have to, I don't know, show your documents, you're going to a Kabbalah. So I was wondering how we can explain this to people who don't speak Hebrew and don't understand also the root of this word. Can we say that it's like a science, a system that shows you how to receive wisdom, how to receive wisdom from the past, because the entire history that you just beautifully presented to me teaches us things and gives us signs and gives us information and gives us tools on how to go on with our lives in a better way, in a way that the entire humanity, the entire society, and the world can be a better place. Is this a correct way of thinking that I assumed, or do you think maybe it needs some straightening?
The Wisdom of Kabbalah is really, as you say, it explains how to receive, but what to receive. What I receive is the revelation of that force of love and bestowal, which controls that higher reality, the upper reality. How can we discover that force, and how can we draw it to ourselves, to attract it, and start according to that force of love and bestowal, to start using it to manage our relationships, That's on the one hand. On the other hand, the wisdom of Kabbalah is... Why is it called wisdom of Kabbalah? Because it's not just in order to receive, but there are many conditions which are a bit unusual, where, like in our time, where the people just like to receive and to receive and to receive all the time. But it's a method of how to receive that upper force, that revelation of that upper force of love and bestowal, where we need to make a few opposite actions. In the rejection of our ego, we build a place which is suitable for receiving that force of love and bestowal. Therefore, it's complicated to do that. It's a very special it's a special method in order to do that, and we have to learn that. But what I would emphasize is that the wisdom of Kabbalah is meant for everyone. It needs to give humanity a direction on how to exist, because our ego will grow more and more until we will destroy the whole of the planet, especially through ecological blows. And the wisdom of Kabbalah explains how we can be protected from our own ego and live a good life. That's one thing. Another thing is that since the wisdom of Kabbalah became revealed in a small part of humanity who called themselves Jews, Jews from the word unity, connection, from the word Yehudi, where people started uniting according to Abraham's method. So from those days and onwards, the wisdom of Kabbalah is with the people of Israel. And as you know, Israel is not a nationality, it's not a nation in that sense, but it's that group which started operating according to that spiritual concept. Therefore, a Jew can be each and every person, that anyone Polish who wants to can turn themselves into a Jew. A Jew cannot turn himself into a Polish person because you have to actually be born as a Polish person. You can be a Polish citizen, but to actually be Polish, you have to be from today in the next moment. If he engages in the wisdom of Kabbalah, then the moment he starts receiving those forces of bestowal and starts connecting with others, then he turns into a Jew. Also in an official way, according to the law, each and every person can convert to Judaism. It doesn't happen in any other nation, because the people of Israel has no genes, no DNA, which actually make them Jewish. But from the beginning, it's a people who goes according to a concept of unity. And now we can also understand why is there such a phenomenon as anti-Semitism, hatred for the people of Israel. It's because this people, this nation, has a method of how to connect among everyone and how to bring the world to a pleasant correction where everyone can be together. And this people does not implement that method, and it does not show an example of this to humanity, and does not bring humanity to a good life. Therefore, all the people and the nations in the world hate that specific people. And the Wisdom of Kabbalah explains that the moment we can start implementing the Wisdom of Kabbalah, where we start connecting first and foremost among each other, among the people of Israel, and show an example of that unity to the world, then the world will stop hating the Jews. Anti-Semitism will not exist, and people will be happy in the world to see and receive that example and will happily connect. So the problem is not with the nations of the world, but with the people of Israel, who does not want to implement the wisdom of Kabbalah, who does not want to connect, to unite, and to reach love and mutual bestowal among its own people.
Can you disconnect Kabbalah from religion, or is it something that is intertwined forever and cannot be separated?
The wisdom of Kabbalah does not relate to religion. Even more so, religion does not accept the wisdom of Kabbalah. The wisdom of Kabbalah is an ancient method which exists since ancient times, but it's only a small group has ever implemented it within the people, who are called Kabbalists, and all the other people, religious, secular, they don't understand, they don't want to understand as well what the wisdom of Kabbalah is. Because Kabbalah says that we need to be connected among each other, above all the divisions among us, just like it was in Abraham's time and how he did that. Where we need to be, as it's written, a light for the nations, which means to show humanity how connection is necessary for the whole of humanity. And if we do not start realizing that, then we will have very big problems, because at the end of it all, the nations of the world will hate us more and more, because they will feel, subconsciously even, that we are the cause for all of their problems.
I heard a sentence that I wrote myself down, and I would like to make sure that my understanding of it is proper. That we need to be connected and we need to be the light for other people, for other nations. Would you say that this needs to be connected is the most important goal of Kabbalah?
Yes. The whole of the wisdom of Kabbalah is a method of connection of the people of Israel, and then a method of connection of the whole world.
You said that it is disconnected from religion, that it's two separate things. But let me phrase my question in a different way, because I would like to make sure that I will give the proper message to the readers. Do I have to believe in God to practice Kabbalah?
No. The wisdom of Kabbalah doesn't tell a person needs to believe in anything. The person only needs to try to implement the method of connection, and when he starts implementing it properly, then he will start feeling that force of bestowal and love which exists in nature, and that force, we call that force God.
Give me examples of what it means for the everyday life, practicing Kabbalah.
I can't give you an example of everyday life because we don't implement that. We are only in the beginning of the path. Among our groups all around the world, we are trying to create such relationships. And in those groups, we are trying to reach that revelation of that force of bestowal and love between us, where that force is called God. That force is called the Creator. It's two words. Creator is two words in Hebrew. Bo-ore, come and see. The word boreh. when we come to that connection between us, then we will then we will see, or we will reveal that upper force which truly is God. And the whole of the wisdom of Kabbalah speaks about that. It's not historical stories. It's the wisdom of Kabbalah explains to us what exactly the Torah speaks about. Only about the connection, and love thy friend as thyself. It's a great rule in the Torah. It speaks about love. Love thy friend as thyself. Therefore, that's what the Torah demands from the people of Israel, that they will implement that, and afterwards that they will be a light for the nations. That we too will give that to the rest of the world. If we will not do that, then the hatred towards us will increasingly rise, and that's the cause of anti-Semitism.
I think people are so much in crisis today that they're also looking for ready recipes. They are looking for answers. Can we say that Kabbalah provides answers, or is it more of an invitation to look for them yourself?
No, they don't need to research or find something there. The wisdom of Kabbalah is very practical. It says that we need to connect in small groups of up to 10 people per group. And in that group, according to the method which is called the wisdom of Kabbalah, to discover the Creator, that upper force, in the pleasant connection, in the positive connection among people. Therefore, it's suitable for everyone. If there are up to 10 people, more than 10 people we can't really grasp. That's how we're built. But up to 10 people, as it's called a minyan, that's enough in order for us to already discover in our connection that upper force which is called the Creator. Bo'ure, come and see.
How important is the role of a teacher in the method? Because here I personally, since I'm also new to the subject, I see a little bit of contrast. I always had the feeling that it's very important that there is this relationship between the student and the teacher, the pupil and the teacher, the pupil and the guide. You now mentioned a group. Does it mean that also the relationships within the group are equally important, or is it still the relationship between a guide, a teacher, and the students?
There's great importance of the teacher, because otherwise no one would know how to implement the method, other than the teacher who received it from his teacher, and him from his teacher, etc. Therefore, the wisdom of Kabbalah is also called Kabbalah from the word tradition. Tradition is masoret in Hebrew, where they moser it, where they pass it on from one generation to the next. It's impossible otherwise. If I wouldn't have learnt it from my teacher, then I wouldn't also understand anything, and I wouldn't be able to pass it on to others either. But what we learn on how to implement the method, we only learn that from the sources. We don't learn it from my books, and we don't learn it from my words, but I teach the students how they can correctly read the books and how to implement what is written there. Not what I wrote, but what our teachers wrote.
If I understood correctly from the reading that I did, one of the concepts of the Kabbalah is that everything is for the best. I would like to understand a little bit what the Kabbalah says about the pain, the suffering, and also this ego problem that you mentioned. Where does it really come from? Why do the people have this ego that is constantly trying to reinforce itself?
The ego is necessary in order for us to be independent from the upper force, and then we, from that point which is opposite to the upper force. From that point, we can get to know the upper force. Otherwise, we wouldn't even have an opportunity to exist in this opposite form, and then we can come to know him, come to know that force. Therefore, the ego is necessary. As it's written, I created the evil inclination. That's the creator who created the ego, especially in order for us, where by positioning ourselves above it, then we start getting to know the connection with the creator. And then we develop that independence and our position in reality. That's on one hand. On the other hand, our whole work is with the ego and above the ego, because from that we construct ourselves as great, as big as we are. From the ego, the same extent above it, we build the image of the Creator. Also something else that you asked, I can't remember it.
I asked if you can, if it's true what I understood from different reading and available sources that I found, that the Kabbalah says that everything that happens is for the best. That it's
that's right. Yep. Yeah, certainly everything's for the best. But the question is, how do we come to that best? The end of correction of the whole of reality is opening to us. But the question is, through what path do we reach that? Either through a long path which is full of suffering, or through a short path which is pleasant and comfortable. That's the difference between these two paths. But these two paths bring us to that same final state, to that same conclusion.
Where can a person that has not ever heard about Kabbalah start? If somebody is interested in following this path and receiving this teaching, what would your advice be? How can they start? I'm, of course, talking about the Polish readers of the interview and of the article that will follow.
I think that the best advice is to enter our website. And there are many languages, including Polish. A few of our materials are translated into Polish, and they can enter there, they can study, and there is a lot of material there. There are Kabbalah courses, lessons, live lessons that are adapted for Europe. Soon we will have a convention in Vilnius in Lithuania. That's very close to Poland. You're invited to come if you wish to come to that. That would be very interesting. Within 2 or 3 days, you will be able to get to know many things. And I recommend that. That's necessary, to enter our site, to get to know the material there, to sign up to some course, and progress from there. Alone, it's impossible. But together with one of our instructors, we have many instructors, then I'm sure that they will be able to enjoy the wisdom. And then you can also see how you can add to psychology from that, and to all your writing from the Wisdom of Kabbalah, even without mentioning the Wisdom of Kabbalah itself, but just how much it'll open to you horizons, and you'll be able to succeed more and more. I recommend that for you. I wish that for you. And with the convention in Vilnius, we'd be happy to get to know you more.
Very happy to, and I will for sure check if it's possible from my side. I have 2 more questions. You told me now about the website and about how a person that is not connected to Kabbalah in any way can slowly start entering this world. I have a feeling, maybe it's just my feeling, something very personal, even though I imagine that many people can have this feeling too, that Kabbalah is such a mysterious thing for them that they are afraid to ask stupid questions. They are afraid to say something that will maybe be considered, naive or based on a misconception. We're all afraid of making fool of ourselves, basically. And since the knowledge in Kabbalah, in my culture, is completely, it doesn't exist, basically, I think there's a lot of this fear from the people who might be the people who would actually really, like you said, enjoy it and benefit from it. They will be simply afraid to approach it. How can we invite them to fight this fear? How can we encourage them to do it anyway?
In our website, it's written many times in many places where that fear comes from and how it's all completely baseless. There's no rational basis to it. Since the wisdom of Kabbalah, the last 2,000 years, it was concealed from the public because it needed to go through that period of exile for 2,000 years. So due to that period of exile, around that word Kabbalah, there were many stories created about it, misconceptions. Bala Sulam wrote a lot about that as well, and many Kabbalists wrote about it, where people are afraid of it and they don't want to touch it, but it's all baseless because it comes from the fact that Kabbalah was detached from the public and from humanity, and now we're returning to it, and now we're in this struggle in order to open the wisdom of Kabbalah to the world, in order to explain it and to settle all that fear, because in order to see that with the wisdom of Kabbalah, we won't be able to reach a good and positive life. We just simply have no choice. We need to bring this wisdom in because only through it can we connect properly among each other. And if we don't connect properly, then we will start simply destroying everything we have on this planet.
Another common belief among the people is that you need to be very rich to be able to approach the teaching of the Kabbalah. It's a closed circle, like we said. It's something that is exclusive. So people have this feeling that they will first have to, make a very big donation or sign up somewhere and pay a lot of money for joining the club. Let me use this.
No. That's completely incorrect. That's nonsense. There's no such thing. True Kabbalists do not receive any money. They live in a very modest way. They have no connection with those things. Even with us, you can you don't even need to sign up anywhere on our site. You can go to our website. Everything there all the material is open for free viewing, and no one will even know who you are, and they won't even request any payment from you. It's all incorrect. As usual, people, through their ego, they like to, through their people like to explain badly about all kinds of things that exist. And I'd like to allow you to get to know more about the wisdom of Kabbalah, and that you'd be able to enjoy opening it more and seeing your own eyes open more and feel much better in life, to your success.
This has been an eye-opening talk.
Or other people, how do we differentiate between a real Kabbalist and a real teacher and somebody who I guess we could call an imposter, somebody who is just trying to cheat me, pretending that he knows something that I don't, and cheat me, basically, I don't know, take money from me or teach me things that will not help me.
Firstly, I told you, a real Kabbalist would never demand money. A real Kabbalist teaches only according to the sources, authentic sources, where in the wisdom of Kabbalah, that is the book of Zohar, the writings of the Ari, the writings of Bala Sulam, and the writings of Rabash. All the other writings are irrelevant for our times specifically. No real Kabbalist would teach something from himself, but it's always according to those sources. A real Kabbalist will connect people and will show them how they can connect among each other in order to attain that force of bestowal and love between them, which is the purpose of the wisdom of Kabbalah. That's all in all. If you look at those 3 or 4 conditions and you see that that's all there in place, then it seems that you have a real Kabbalist before you. I wish for you all good, all the best, and if you wish, you can also ask questions there on our website, but come to the convention, it's easy, and there you'll be able to get to know everything. Let us meet.
2 little kids, but it's very tempting. I will definitely think about it. Thank you very, very much. I hope I will manage to now convey this message to the public here in Poland. If I have any further questions, I will allow myself to contact you and to ask. Thank you very, very much.
Yes.
כן. בהצלחה.
Thank you.
כל טוב.
All the best to you.